Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be talking about my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2025. This next year is ridiculously stacked with big releases, tons of awesome looking big budget blockbusters to mid-budget horror and indie cinema as well. There's just so much happening next year. This is probably because of the strikes in 2023 that delayed everything the next year, which left this year kind of feeling a little empty. Before I get into the list, remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. I also have a very active letterbox if you want to follow me there. Throughout this list, you will see a very clear bias on my end about what movies I tend to get most excited for, which is usually the big budget stuff. It's not saying that I don't get excited for indie or mid-budget stuff, it's just the big releases are the ones that I get the most excited for. But first, I will start with some honorable mentions. First up might seem like a weird one, and it's Saw 11. I'm well aware that this is a strange pick, but to be honest, I loved the last Saw movie. I thought Saw X was easily the best of the franchise, and I hope that Saw 11 continues to keep that focus of having John Kramer as the main character again. I think having Jigsaw as the protagonist for Saw X made that film so much more interesting and compelling than it had any right to be. Next honorable mention is Sinners. This is Ryan Coogler's newest film with Michael B. Jordan and Haley Steinfeld. First of all, you had me with Michael B. Jordan and Haley Steinfeld. I love both of those two. I will see anything that they do. And second, Coogler simply does not miss. All of his films so far are excellent. Both Black Panther films are fantastic. Fruitvale Station is criminally underrated, and Creed is just a straight up masterpiece in my opinion. And thirdly, it's going to supposedly involve vampires. So, yes please. 28 years later. To be perfectly honest, I don't love 28 Days Later or 28 Weeks Later. But I am interested in seeing how this world is at this point, especially after the ending of 28 Weeks Later. I'm also looking forward to seeing Cillian Murphy come back, but the main reason this is an honorable mention is that the teaser trailer was just phenomenal. Next is Wicked Part 2, which I suppose has been retitled as Wicked for Good. Before seeing Wicked Part 1, I knew nothing about the stage play, I knew none of the songs, I didn't know what the story was about or its connections to The Wizard of Oz. I'm also not really a fan of pop music, so I don't really listen to singers like Ariana Grande, despite her obviously being a very talented singer. So I was unsure about how her acting would be in that film. Well, it turns out I really enjoyed part 1, and Grande's performance along with Cynthia Erivo's performances blew me away. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this story concludes. Last honorable mention is Predator Badlands. I am loving this current era of Alien and Predator movies getting highly talented and passionate filmmakers to make these iconic series come back to life. And honestly, Prey is probably my favorite Predator movie. I know that's probably action movie blasphemy to say on the internet, but it's how I feel. So bringing Dan Trachtenberg back to do another after he did such an excellent job with that film is very exciting. Now onto the actual list. At number 10 might be a bit of a controversial pick, but my number 10 is going to be How to Train Your Dragon. Like most people, I was very skeptical about this series being turned into live-action movies, especially considering how just amazing that trilogy is. But the news of the director of the animated films, along with the casting announcements, certainly piqued my interest. And then the teaser released. It was only a minute long, but I've loved everything that I saw in it. Gerard Butler coming back to play the live-action version of Stoic, whom he voiced in the trilogy, is, I think, an excellent choice. The visual style looks fairly great, but most importantly, Toothless. I thought for sure that they would do some kind of adaptation to make Toothless look a bit more natural looking for live action, but nope. They basically just ripped him straight from the animated films, and he looks absolutely perfect. The visuals of Toothless alone have completely sold me on this movie, and now I'm dying to see it. Number 9 is going to be Mickey 17. You only need to say one name to get film fans excited about this movie. Bong Joon-ho. This guy simply does not miss. I haven't seen all of his movies, but every single one that I have seen, I have loved. Mother is an excellent tale of mystery and moral ambiguity. Okja is a darkly funny and poignant look and critique at the treatment of animals and the toxicity of capitalism. The Host is a thrilling monster movie about chemical warfare and a satire of governmental responses to crises. Snowpiercer is just an awesome science fiction film about class inequality. Memories of Murder is one of the best serial killer movies ever made. And of course, Parasite is a masterpiece in just about every way. So Bong Joon-ho doing another science fiction movie with Robert Pattinson, along with a bunch of other incredible cast members, equals a give this to me right now. Oh, and the trailer's pretty neat looking too. My number 8 is Ballerina. There's a longer, more official title for this movie, but saying from the world of John Wick, Ballerina is just an annoying mouthful. I love the John Wick movies. Chad Stahelski and Keanu Reeves made an underdog of a franchise that revitalized this kind of action movie and has influenced so many movies to have better action sequences and camera work. John Wick Chapter 4 is one of the all-time great action movies, and I can't wait to see John Wick himself again have a cameo role in this upcoming film. Ana de Armas has very clearly proven that she can be excellent with action, like in her small role in No Time to Die, and she's also just a great actress all around. My only concern is with the talent behind the camera of this movie. Len Wiseman isn't a particularly great director looking at his track record, but there were reports of Chad Stahelski helping with some reshoots for the action, so at the very least the action will remain very consistently great with the rest of the series, which I think is extremely necessary for a John Wick universe movie. Speaking of which, the world of John Wick is so interesting, so any kind of additions that they can add to this movie, I'm excited to see what they expand upon with it. Number 7 is Jurassic World Rebirth. I feel like I keep getting burned by this franchise, but dinosaurs make my monkey brain be happy. I was so excited for Jurassic World Dominion. The trailers were great, and the concept of dinosaurs finally roaming the world was extremely exciting. But I was so let down by it. Useless fan service for little reason, a baffling plot that centered on locusts for some reason, and a complete waste of the concept. So why am I excited for Rebirth? First of all, I'm always excited for these movies. It's really the only franchise that uses dinosaurs very heavily, and I've had a lifelong love of dinosaurs, and the original Jurassic Park is my second favorite movie of all time. I was even excited for Fallen Kingdom despite those trailers being rather lackluster. But honestly, all the behind-the-scenes stuff for this movie has me very intrigued. Gareth Edwards is a very solid director, especially with spectacle filmmaking. His work on Rogue One is excellent, and I think his Godzilla movie is highly underrated, and the creator was visually wonderful. But also the writer of the original Jurassic Park movie is coming back to write this movie, so that also excites me. The cast is also particularly great with Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali joining. So everything behind the scenes about this movie excites me, and it's with dinosaurs. So hopefully it doesn't disappoint like Dominion did. My number 6 is Captain America Brave New World. I adore the MCU with all of my heart, and all of the MCU movies from 2025 are on this list. It hurts my soul that a lot of the fandom have been invaded by numbskull anti-woke grifters over the past few years. If you are offended or angry that white dudes aren't exclusively the main characters anymore, maybe go touch some grass for once. Might be a little useful, and it also looks like this film will sadly be the next target of these grifters making up random crap to get people upset for little to no reason. Anyway, I'm very excited for Cap 4. The trailers have been very good, very well edited, and it seems like the plot is very intriguing. I have some reservations about some of the CGI that's in the trailer, and especially with the amount of reshoot drama that have been going on with this film, has me a little concerned, but I think at its absolute worst, Cap 4 will still be decent. And to be honest, these reshoots were probably very beneficial, especially considering that they were after Kevin Feige got his power back after Bob Chapek left Disney. Harrison Ford as Red Hulk is also just, that's like perfect, and is going to be worth seeing this movie just for that alone. I just hope that this film utilizes Anthony Mackie well as Sam Wilson's version of Captain America. He was given the mantle by Steve, and he learned how to deal with said mantle in the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. So I think he more than deserves this role. I just hope they give this character his justice. I also hope that the action is solid. I don't need it to be as good as, say, the action in Winter Soldier or Civil War good, but I am extremely excited regardless. It is an MCU movie, and I will always be excited for MCU films. My number 5 most anticipated movie of 2025 is Avatar: Fire and Ash. Why is this movie so high on my anticipated list when it seems like everybody just kind of moans at Avatar? Well, that's because I loved The Way of Water. I think Avatar 2 is significantly better than the first Avatar. I found the story far more engaging, and the characters were actually worth caring for, along with just being utterly visually astounding. Avatar 2 was the first movie I saw in IMAX, and the experience blew me away. Regardless of the ultimate quality of Avatar 3, It will most assuredly be a breathtaking visual experience in 3D IMAX. And I'm personally hoping that the visuals have a heavy red or crimson lighting to them. I love scenes where there are tons of deep reds in the lighting, and considering that this movie will heavily utilize fire, I think that might be the case. Ideally, this next Avatar film continues to emphasize the characters and family the way that Way of Water did. Oh hey look, it's another MCU film. My number 4 is Marvel's Thunderbolts. I'm sorry, what can I say? I love the MCU and I will always be excited for their movies, especially when they have as much promise and talent like Thunderbolts has. The premise is great, the characters are great. I didn't entirely love the Black Widow movie, I liked it a lot, and there were a lot of missed opportunities with it, but that said, I absolutely adored the characters of Yelena and Red Guardian, so those two basically being the leads of this film is super exciting. I also loved John Walker from the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. Yes, he was basically a bargain bin version of Captain America, but that was the point. He's a very complicated and gray character that I find very fascinating, and I think his story in that show is probably the best part of that show. I also love Bucky. If you saw my MCU character tier list video, you would know that I love Winter Soldier. He is an easy S tier character in the MCU. The trailers for this movie have also just looked like an absolute blast. These characters and the chemistry they have are already so well brought to life within just those 2 teasers that they've released. Basically everything about this movie is fascinating and excites the heck out of me. The behind the scenes talent is very solid, and what is also great is that despite having 2 trailers already, we still don't really know what the plot or the villains are. Oh, and Sentry is going to be in this movie. That alone will be worth it. Number 3 is going to be James Gunn's Superman. James Gunn has a perfect track record with comic book movies and media as far as I'm concerned. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is just a classic at this point. I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is the single most underrated movie in the MCU. The Suicide Squad was excellent and honestly easily my favorite of the DCEU films, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is just a straight up masterpiece. So naturally the odds are that Superman will be great. It also helps that everything James Gunn is doing and saying about his upcoming DC universe is just right. Not greenlighting films until a finished script is there is a great idea. The casting of this movie is fantastic, and the idea of bringing hope back to Superman without the drab color and nihilism of Zack Snyder's films has me extremely optimistic. And I say this as a person who really likes Man of Steel. I like that movie, but it doesn't scream Superman like this upcoming film does. And that version of Superman was definitely soured for me with Batman v Superman, which I did not like. This is also the ultimate kickoff to a new cinematic universe, which will ideally be significantly better than the previous attempt at a DC universe. So there's a lot riding on this Superman film, and I believe James Gunn is the right guy to do it. It also helps that that first trailer was just absolute perfection. My number 2 is the last MCU movie on this list, The Fantastic Four: First Steps. Now, while we don't have any footage of this like Cap 4 or Thunderbolts, I am somehow way more excited about this movie than either of those two. It could be that we've never had a good Fantastic Four movie, and this looks like it's going to correct that. Everything about this just seems perfect. The cast is incredible. Pedro Pascal is amazing in everything. Vanessa Kirby is incredibly underrated and was actually one of my fan casts for Sue Storm. If you've seen The Bear, you know how good Eben Moss-Backrack is, and Joseph Quinn is showing up in seemingly everything nowadays and crushing it. And Ralph Ineson as Galactus? Come on, that's just perfect. Kevin Feige seems to really want to nail this film, and everything about it seems like they will. Matt Shakman is one of the more underrated directors working now, even though he's mostly worked with TV. Over 40 episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, some great episodes of Game of Thrones, a great episode of Succession, and the masterpiece that is WandaVision. Yes, I said masterpiece. I will fight anyone on WandaVision. It is a top-tier MCU project. I also love the retro-futuristic vibe that this film is going for, and I think, like with Superman, this really needs to deliver a certain sense of wonder, especially with how the Fantastic Four themselves interact as a family. I am so stoked for this movie. Next July is going to be crazy with this, Superman, and Jurassic World. And my number one most anticipated movie of 2025 should not come as a surprise to anyone who knows me. It is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I adore these movies. Fallout is my all-time favorite action movie, and Dead Reckoning was just absolutely fantastic. It still remains my favorite movie of 2023. These films just know how to entertain me, specifically with stunning action set pieces and great spy stories. With this one seeming like it will be the last one, it also looks like they will go out with a bang. Some of the stunts and set pieces in this just look mind-numbingly good. The submarine sequence that is teased in the trailer looks stunning. And how awesome does that biplane scene look? I hope it's kind of like the helicopter sequence from Fallout with the intensity. That helicopter sequence is my all-time favorite action sequence in any film, so anything that can replicate that, give me that, please. I also can't wait to see how this story will continue. Dead Reckoning ended in a very satisfying way with that breathtaking train scene, yet also left us wanting more. I wonder how the entity will be treated in this film, and I wonder what misdirects were in Dead Reckoning that might be answered in this film. We know we can count on stunning action if all else fails, but man, that first trailer is amazing, and it also looks like it might be the most emotional of the Mission Impossible movies. If they can manage to deliver an action movie as compelling and entertaining as Fallout or Dead Reckoning, while also hitting us with the emotion that looks like it might be promised, we are in for a treat. I seriously cannot wait for this movie. I am over the moon with excitement for some of these movies on this list. Despite having plenty of great movies, 2024 not really having the best slate to be excited for. So this next year just looks like it's going to be so much fun at the movies. Let me know what movies you are most excited for. There is tons to be excited for in 2025. And remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. And check out my Letterboxd if you want. It's a great help to the channel. Okay, bye.
If it is to be said, so it is.